a 6-month pregnant lady and a guy next door. She was standing holding medicine in her hands. The tap of the wash basin was open. The sound of her sobs was muffled by the noise of the water. Tears were constantly flowing from her eyes, when another voice was added to the sound of the water flowing in her sobs. The doorbell was ringing. Someone was at the door. Ella immediately threw the pills in her hand into the wash basin and started pouring water on her face, turned off the faucet and looked at her face in the mirror. Her eyes were swollen red. Even if she wanted to, she could not convince herself to take such a slow step. But she was tired of her life. She put her hand on her stomach and felt another life flourishing inside her. When the bell rang again, she opened her eyes in shock and went to the door. She looked out of the magic eye and saw a boy. Opening the door, she looked questioningly at the boy whom she was seeing for the first time, as she didn't know anyone here. It was only a week since she shifted to this flat. Yes, she asked in a cold tone that the boy standing in front of him couldn't say anything for a while and was looking at his swollen eyes from crying. Actually, my name is Matthew. I live in your neighborhood. He introduced himself and became silent as he wanted her to introduce herself. Any work? She again asked a short question. He smiled helplessly. No, there is no work, but our colony has a party every Saturday night, that is, a social gathering, so if you join us. Before he could finish speaking, he was cut off by her. Thanks for asking, but I'm not interested in social gatherings. Ella closed the door with that sentence. Matthew stared at the door for a moment, then turned away. Ever since Ella had come, she had noticed that no one came to meet this pregnant woman, nor did she go anywhere. The shadow of sadness on her face brought many questions, and the bigger question mark was her bulging belly. She was pregnant, then why alone? Ella came to the room and lay on the bed. She did not have the courage even today. She wanted her life to end, but it was also possible. But what happened to her was not like forgetting. She turned into a crying crotch. She didn't want to sleep anyway. The next day, Ella had gone to the nearby market to buy food and other necessities. Her medicine had also run out. She started climbing the stairs holding the grocery in her hands, because the technical issue was going on with the elevator. It was the boy who had come to invite her to the party. May I help you? He spoke sincerely, but Ella couldn't stop him even if she wanted to, because she was barely able to walk, so she started walking quietly with Matthew. Matthew put her things outside the door and went to his apartment. Ella also went in quietly. After that, she did not meet Matthew for a whole week, neither did she leave the house nor did Matthew come. Today was also a normal day. She was watching a movie after eating, but her mind was somewhere else when the doorbell rang. When Ella opened the door, Matthew was standing in front of it. Hi, my name is Matthew and I live in your neighborhood. He once again introduced himself to Ella. Ella smiled helplessly at his introduction. She remembered Matthew's help. My name is Ella. Brief introduction. Good name, Ella. After this brief introduction, Matthew again invited her for society gathering, and this time she couldn't deny. She had come with Matthew to the society's gathering, where she had met many people. When she returned to her apartment, she was feeling much better. As the days went by, she was breaking down inside, and her friendship with Matthew was growing. Today she was in Matthew's apartment. Attended the invitation of friends. Her 8th month of pregnancy had started. She was sitting in a corner. Today, she was feeling very helpless and sad at this feast, because during the introduction, Matthew's friends had asked about her pregnancy and her husband, but she had nothing to say. There was nothing that Matthew had noticed when the subject was subtly changed. You are sitting alone. Not enjoying yourself? Is everything okay? Matthew sat next to her and asked. I want to go home, Matthew, Ella said as she stood up as Matthew took her hand. We are good friends, Ella. You can share your sorrow with me, Matthew asked softly and sat next to her. But Ella came forward without a word, resting her head on his shoulder. I'm tired, Matthew. I'm tired of my life. Matthew didn't say anything in response to Ella's words, just listened quietly. Matthew, I loved Eric very much, but he didn't love me. I was happy, Matthew, when I found out I was going to be the mother of his child. I thought he'd love me the moment he heard the news. He will happily embrace me. He will love me. He will ask me to marry him, but he got angry and told me to abort the pregnancy. I tried to convince him that we have our first child, but he refused, and left me when I refused to abort my 2 months of pregnancy. After some time I found out that he is in a relationship with my friend and he doesn't care about me or my child. It has been very difficult. I tried so hard to kill this child, but I didn't have the courage. Then I left that city and came here. But now when people ask about this child, what will I say, or why my child will be deprived of father's love? Why was he deprived of a complete lifestyle and love? I myself am so broken. How will I handle it? Saying this, Ella started crying more badly. Matthew himself was perfectly still when Ella felt the pressure of Matthew's hand on hers. Ella, you did very well. Forget what happened in the past. That person was not worthy of you. And life does not end on one person. Rather. Matthew paused for a moment. Maybe after this child comes into the world, you will find a good partner, and your child a good father, and your life will be complete. Ella looked into Matthew's eyes. Matthew's words were very good, but after being cheated by Eric, she knew it was not possible. Someone will accept her but may not be able to give love to her child. Good to hear it's life, not a fairy tale, she said in hopelessness. I don't know about a good partner in life, but you are a really good friend. Saying this, Ella left there. For several days after that day, Matthew's condition was also very strange. He could not understand what he felt for Ella, sympathy or something else, but he felt hatred for Eric. After sharing her grief with Matthew at the party that day, she was feeling very light and was returning to life. She was now happy about the birth of her child. She did not regret her decision. She was happily shopping for baby with Matthew. Matthew, being a good friend, was taking her to doctors for checkups and taking care of her. At that time, it was 4 o'clock in the morning. Matthew had slept some time ago when the phone rang. When Matthew picked up the call, Ella was on the other side. She was moaning in pain. Matthew took a moment to understand the matter. The next moment he rushed out and opened the door of Ella's apartment with the key that Ella had given him. He went down carrying Ella and put her in the car himself. Sitting in the driving seat. Drive the car to the hospital. After reaching the hospital in 15 minutes, the doctors took Ella inside. Matthew began to complete the formalities at the reception, when a form had to be filled in with the name of the father of the child. He was standing outside the labor room. When the doctor came out of the room and congratulated Matthew, he said that a daughter was born. On hearing this, Matthew's face started to shine with happiness. But the next moment he asked about Ella. The doctor told him that she was fine but unconscious. After some time she will regain consciousness, and the baby girl is also being checked up. After some time, Matthew escaped from the nurse. And as soon as he took the girl in his hand, his heart started beating fast. She was not his daughter, she was not his blood, but he was feeling the joy of being a father. The small existence of this girl seemed to Matthew a part of his existence. He sat on the bench and began to caress her. When Ella regained consciousness, she saw the nurse in front of her. The first thing she asked about her newborn child was that the nurse told her with a smile that she was with her father. Hearing this, Ella's face turned yellow with fear. She thinks that Eric has come to take away her baby. The next moment she runs out despite the nurse's prohibition, but stops short before going out the door. In front, Matthew was fondling her daughter. Ella's eyes began to fill with tears the moment Matthew saw her. Ella was staring at him petrified when Matthew walked up to her and sat down on his knees holding her daughter in one hand and held out a beautiful ring of delicately fine stone in front of Ella. "Will you marry me?" Ella broke down on Matthew's question. Yes, she was shaking her head with yes and hid her face in her hands to hide her tears. The reason for her crying was her pain. Matthew knew what pain she had gone through as Matthew stood up and hugged Ella with his other hand. "You and me and our daughter. We are complete, Ella." Saying this, Matthew's eyes were moist. He had understood his situation very quickly, that he was not in sympathy with Ella but in love. Thanks for watching. If you like the story, then do like, share and subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon to get more such interesting stories. And share your precious thoughts in the comments down below. Till then, take care, bye bye.